everybody. My name is Christian, and I'm one of the co-hosts of the Everything in Between podcast, which you are about to listen to the very first episode of. I just want to first off say thank you so much for joining us, and we're really excited for what God is going to do in and through this, through a couple of guys just hanging out on a phone call, having fun, shooting the breeze. While you're listening, we would love it if you would give us a follow on your favorite social media networks at TEIB Pod. Again, that's at TEIB POD. Feel free to shoot us a message. We'd love to hear from you, and we'd love to have a conversation with you. Even if it's about something that you don't agree with, we'd love to hear your opinions, hear your comments, because again, that's what this podcast is all about, the everything in between. Again, I really can't stress enough just how thankful we are that you're here, that you're listening. We really do appreciate the support. So without any further pandering, because I promise you'll get plenty of that from me during our time together, here is our very first episode. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to the Everything in Between podcast. My name is Christian.
And I'm Schae. And I got to tell you about this past Sunday and my biggest goof thus far with my worship career.
Okay.
Leading the first song, I don't know if it was because we're trying to do this new thing where she wants us, whoever's leading the first song, to kind of welcome the congregation and either do a prayer or say something about the song. And
so real quick, to give some context to this.
Yeah.
So Schae is on the worship team. And if you've listened to our intro videos, you'll hear some of this as well. Schae is on the worship team at the church that I used to lead worship at. The worship leader now, he's volunteering underneath the worship leader now.
Yep.
And
so she's been encouraging just a little bit more involvement from all of us that are the primary song leaders and whatnot. And I don't know if that just threw off my whole groove because I'm not good at talking to people. But started our first song, which is one I've done before. And first verse was totally fine. Second verse, I don't know if I jumped too early or if everyone jumped too early, but we got so far off the track, the click track, the metronome in our ears, that there was no getting back on. It was noticeably bad.
Oh, jeez.
We all fell off, and then we got back together off the click track.
Oh, I hate when that happens. Yeah, it just feels like it's weird. Yeah.
So we're trying so desperately to get back onto the click track, but we were off together and then completely off, and it didn't help at all that we had a brand new drummer with us. So he's not, and he's told us too, he's like, I've never done the in-ears, I've never done click tracks before. So, and sure enough, we joked about it beforehand. We're like, oh, if you get off, just stay off with everybody, or just do your best to get back on the click track. And I'm like,
well, at least you warned the guy, right?
Sure enough, first song, just butchered it. And
oh, jeez.
I have never, because it's always been in the back of my mind, because I don't want to, it's embarrassing. I don't want to be that.
It's one of those things, too, that you sit there and you go, I don't know how else to explain it, but you you do something so often enough that, you get this thought in the back of your mind that, sooner or later, I'm going to mess this up. It's sooner or later, I'm gonna, I've done this enough times that sooner or later, I'm just gonna get him in mode and I'm gonna drop this thing or whatever. I feel like it's the best way to explain it is
autopilot's gonna fail.
right. Kevin from The Office. Well, you wouldn't get this. This isn't a joke you'll get. Schae hasn't seen The Office, so but there's
Parks
a scene where that's very debatable. And I'm pretty sure I'm about 99% sure I'd be on the right side of that. That Office is way better. No. Anyway, you got to get through the first season, man. I'm telling you, just get through the first 6 episodes. The second season's way better. When Pam and Jim start to have their little thing, that's when it gets way good. Anyway, but there's a scene where he's a bigger guy. His name's Kevin, is bringing in his chili for this. I can't remember. It was some sort of I think he was just bringing it in for something, and literally as he's walking in, he trips and falls, and just this massive huge pot of chili just goes flying all over the floor.
So this was my spilled chili moment.
This is I feel like that's exactly what it like. Sooner and the funny part is that he's like hyping it up the entire time you're watching this happen. He's like, he's talking about how like my chili's so good and like I've been doing this for years and I've got a secret recipe. And he's like, all you're seeing is him just taking the ladle he's got and scooping the chili back into the thing, and he's just like so distraught. So that's all I can think is like I feel like there's gonna be a point in any situation, especially even in worship, where like you're gonna have your spilt chili moment. I think that's a great way to say that. Or you're gonna have your worship fail moment where you're like, dude, what the heck have I done? And there's no way of recovering, and it's so frustrating. But I think that goes. I'm glad you said that, because I think that goes right in line, like exactly what we were gonna talk about. Like I'll say this too. Like I can think of so many times in worship where I feel like it's more of a God thing than anything. And I think like a lot of people that you and I both know, like even the worship leader that's currently at the church that you're at, like she's, I think, said it to me before, that like there are so many times where like God has to like wake us up in those moments, because we get so caught up in what we're thinking and what we're the little things that we're focused on. I want this to go right. I want this to go right. I want this to go right. And he's like, I don't care if any of it goes right. I just want you to be in worship with me. And I feel like those are the moments that like, it's so frustrating, because you're like, it just feels so weird. But I also think that like, as much as that's the devil trying to like work, it's also God trying to be like, look, I didn't pick perfect people when I picked the 12. And so that being said, like I'm not expecting you to be perfect. And like, I mean, you can attest to this. Like I remember several times just like stopping and being like, you know what? We're going to start that song over. I think I did it one time actually when we were there. Like I'm going to just start this song over because it's like sometimes you don't get a good start, and
It was your last song.
Was it really?
Your last song with us.
You're right. I remember that.
And I was like, don't sully this moment.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? We're not going to... I think I remember that. I'm not going to go out like that. That's what I said. Yeah.
But even in that, like...
That's right.
To kind of go off your point, it's God telling us that it's not about the performance. Like, we've talked about it numerous times, and like trying to refocus everything of what we're doing up on that stage, or that's not even... Like, we shouldn't even look at it as a stage. But either way.
Yeah.
It's not a performance. It's not about that. And there's even something kind of, I don't know, it was reassuring in the moment, but it was definitely like one of those like members of the congregation, one specifically, Lou, good guy. I think he clapped a little extra loud after that song. Because he knew.
And you know how he is. He likes to be the hype man. He's like, yeah, let's go.
But he knew. And like, funny. Even in that moment, I'm like, okay, my congregation still has my back. Like, they know I'm just a person. I goofed.
And I think that's the beauty of like who we need to, man, well, this is just, we're hitting it hard already right at the beginning, and I love it. Like, but I think it's true. Like I think that's what the church is all about, is being able to be like, you know what, we're here because we're all broken, and it's not about us. It's not about all the little details and the things. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to mess those things up, just like we're going to screw up everything in our life too. And so that being said, like once you can recognize that and be like, you know what, let's just try again. And I mean, he is the God of second chances. Good Lord. Like think about like Peter and Paul. And I mean, you name one person in that Bible that wasn't broken, you know? I mean, I could go down the entire list. There's, everybody in that book, except him.
You already mentioned the 12. I'm like, which one of those 12 wasn't a redemption story for them? Yeah,
exactly. Well, that leads me into kind of the question that I have for this episode and the thing that I want to talk about. So I'll just kind of start there. I've got a bunch of notes that I took. I don't know if I showed you this last time. I'll just show you my notes. And of course, the audience can't see this, but this is my notes. It's like chicken scratch. I feel like I'm like out of a weird episode of Stranger Things, where I'm like drawing letters on the wall kind of thing. Like it's just all over the place. So anyway, but my question is why do people, especially Christians, tend to make such harsh or crass judgments about whether that be like televangelists? I don't really like that word, but like televangelists or like telepastors, people, pastors that are on TV or that have, their live stream is heavily watched, that they don't personally know, even like Christian musicians, or people that would be under that guise of like not guys, but like under that title of like they write Christian music to release, for churches or for, the positive alternative music, for lack of better terms, of like just that sort of Christian music. So why do people, especially Christians, make such harsh or crass judgments about those kind of people? I'll let you kind of take it from there. You can answer the question first.
My first thought is that I think in a lot of ways people can become reliant on some of those people and maybe even put themselves in them and say like, well, I can align with their thought process. And then if they closely align with somebody, like whether it's a popular like mega church pastor or whatever, and then some controversy rolls through, and it's like, well, I supported that church. Now, do I look bad? Or
yeah.
You look at all of your church leadership too, and you hold them to a higher standard because you look at them as like the ones that are supposed to be leading the charge. So I mean, in certain situations, they are supposed to be the ones that are setting the example, but we put a lot of pressure on them. And that just kind of...
Why do you...
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I even lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry.
You're good.
My question was, why do you think that is?
That people put a lot of pressure on them?
Yeah. I mean, I know you kind of already said that, but like, do you think there's a larger... I guess that's maybe what I should have said. Do you feel like there's a larger reasoning behind that, or do you feel like it's just a matter of like maybe blanket faith? I don't know. Like,
not even so much blanket faith, but like maybe doubt in general. Like there's a lot of even like simple things of like people are just waiting for somebody else to take the lead, to make those choices. Like nobody wants to put themselves out there like a pastor. Nobody, like, using my example from the little story, like public speaking even is something that stresses so many people out.
Yeah.
And people look to those beacons of like hope or knowledge because we ourselves just kind of like doubt our own knowledge or doubt our own understandings of things. Like the amount of times that people talk themselves out of situations. Like I've been talking with a bunch of people from our church, or a bunch of men from our church, about having a men's Bible study on on a day that can fit the schedules of most. And there's been a lot of them that are like, yeah, we've just been waiting for somebody to do that. I'm like, why is it taking this long for someone to step up? Like it's been like the church has been hurting for it. Like these men have been looking for that group of other men to just support each other. They're just like, man, if only somebody would lead this group.
Yeah, and how?
Well, anyway,
right, exactly. And you just sit back and you're like, how about them Bears?
But actually,
the
amount of people that just aren't willing to put themselves out there like that. So like they see those that are, and I think it becomes almost a reliance on them. Like, and maybe it's just like how, I don't want to say shallow their faith is, but like maybe
I think that's well said.
Yeah, it's like how shallow their faith may actually be in the sense of like, I rely solely on Sunday mornings and what pastor has to tell me for that day for my Jesus, for my fill of the Bible.
And it seems so like simple, like to say it that way, but like the amount of deep, like I guess what I'm realizing more even in my own life is like the amount of deep-seated like childishness you're almost hiding away because you won't, not even hiding away, this maturity you're hiding away of like because you don't want to go out of your way or you don't want to take the time. Then I mean, it's in my mind, it's the whole thought process of like, well, what if Peter didn't step out of the boat? Like, what happens in that moment? Like, I mean, there's a certain amount of like, they were all there to watch it. Matthew was there probably taking it all in to write it down later, like there's a certain amount of it that you have to sit there and go like, if I constantly do that, where I'm just like, I'm not going to step out of the boat. I'm not going to pull my net up because Jesus said so. I'm not going to name one, you know, like how many, I'm not going to throw the rock, even though I feel like I'm supposed to, and kill the giant. Like there are so many times in my mind where those, you know, those questions had to be asked just in the minds of like basic biblical people, not even basic biblical people, like these, you know, these large characters that we know. And what if they had just said, I'm not gonna show up today because I just don't feel like it. And I feel like we do that on a consistent basis. And I feel like there's more what if in my mind to that than just sitting back and going like, well, what if somebody did start something like that? In my mind, it's like, well, why don't, like, what if you did it? What if you stepped up? What if you were the person that guided that? What could you do? How could God use your abilities that you have no idea you even have because you won't step up and do it? It's the same thing with Moses, for example. Like the man could hardly speak half the time. He had to bring Aaron along in order to be able to do half of it that time, you know, to even speak to people sometimes. And so like, if you allow, I mean, I say that to say, like, if you allow those things to get in the way of who you are and what God, well, not even that. If you allow those things to get in the way of what God has called you to be, you're never going to reach your full potential in the first place. And I think too often we see that happen. This is a totally different subject than we were even on. But I mean, it's a good point. Like, how often do we just miss the mark because we're like, I'm going to let other people be my faith. I'm going to just let somebody else do it. And that kind of brings me to this. I wasn't planning on bringing this up this early, but I'm going to, because I think you hit it right on the head. So this is a book, by Mike Donahue. She's been giving me a hard time about the way I say book because apparently I sound Southern. So
he's got a Southern accent back.
But this is a book by Mike Donahue, the lead singer of 10th Avenue North. It's one of my favorite books of all time. I said that about his first book too. Man is an amazing writer, amazing influencer in the music world. Probably just one of my favorite people to follow in general. I just think so highly of this man.
Did you say the title of the book? I don't know if you said it or not.
Yeah, it's called Grace in the Gray, if I didn't. And again, it's just one of my like favorite books of all time. Again, like I said that about his first one. His first book is called Finding God's Life for My Will. And again, just both really, really, really good books. But this one specifically talks about like the main idea I got from him, at least, is like, what if we chose to see people in the light of who Jesus says they are rather than who we think they are based on the impressions that we get from meeting them or from watching them on TV or whatever. And so he specifically talks about, and I won't say names because he didn't say names in the book, but there is, if I'll say it this way, he's referencing the leader of a very well-known Christian, another very well-known Christian band at the time, that had split up several years before he wrote this book, probably about 2 or 3 years before he wrote this book. One in which I followed for a long time, that I like still keep track of all the guys that were in it. But he's specifically talking about the leader of the lead singer of this band. And so I just want to read this to you. It says, "Not long ago, my friend, who was the lead singer of a Christian band, posted a picture of himself with a caption explaining that he'd undergone a dramatic examination of his beliefs. Let's call it a reinterpretation. He did not think he believed many of the things he formerly had espoused. What he had not expected was Fox News running a front-page story on him the next day. Unfortunately, the feedback in the comment section wasn't what I would describe as patient, kind, gentle, or non-quarrelsome. The word that comes to mind is crusadish. What's wrong with today's Christians? Some bemoaned. This is why liberals cannot be trusted. Others lamented, you're destined to hell for your questions. God. You're leading others astray. And some asked, if you don't believe in God, then why are you preaching to us about it? I pondered. The fact that men and women who were once quite public about their belief in Jesus could reach a place where they question everything should not come as a great shock. Believing in Jesus is hard. It's really hard. In Mark 10:25-27, Jesus called faith in him humanly impossible. It's as impossible as a camel going through a needle. When we take a hard look at the world Questions abound. We must honor real questions instead of dismissing them. How can a good God allow genocide, homicide, child slavery, sickness, sex trafficking, famine, war, death, and every other unthinkable atrocity that fills the news every day? Who wouldn't agree that evidence against the existence of a good God is at least reasonable, if not justifiable? It's no wonder Paul says in 1 Timothy 3:9, they must hold the mystery of the faith with a clear conscience. Mystery. Let's not breeze over that word. If we're ever going to find grace in non-essentials and deconstruction, we will have to make friends with mystery. Remember, Jesus said, you search the scriptures, yet you refuse to come to me. That's John 5:39 through 40. God is not a problem to be solved, but a mystery to encounter. I love that.
Ooh,
I'm going to say that again. God is not a problem to be solved, but a mystery to encounter. It's why the Hebrews called him holy. The original word is kadosh, which I know I just butchered. It means among other things, set apart. In some sense, the most important thing to know about God is that he's far greater and more mysterious than what you can ever know. Mind blown.
There's good. Another part. That's really good.
There's another part here. I mean, that's just one, like, not even page and a half. Like, dude, it's so good. Like, but I mean, I can't think of how many times, like, that's what I want to hit on is, like, I can't think of how many times we see that kind of thing happen. And he discusses it later. And if I can find it here in a second, I'll read it. But he discusses later, he uses this analogy. I probably won't read it. I'll just say it. He uses this analogy of, like, when that kind of thing happens, it feels like it's like sitting under a warm blanket and the covers are just ripped off of you. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden it's like everything you thought you knew under your safe little blanket is gone. And he admits, like, that's terrifying to think, because if your faith is based on somebody else's faith, then when that's torn away, you feel hopeless.
And I think that was kind of what I was trying to get to, and that's a much more eloquent way to say it. It's like, if when you see somebody else fall, you then yourself feel, like you were saying, hopeless or exposed.
Yeah.
And what I keep thinking about, and like how we tend to hold, and like we just tend to hold, like, all of our, like, church leadership, or like especially those that are in the spotlight as, like, big famous bands, mega churches, whatever.
Yeah.
We hold them to a higher standard. But what always comes back to mind is a Sidewalk Prophets song, the Save My Life, when it talks about, you're like, I'm the pastor at your church. It's like, but if you take everything away, you'll see that I'm just like you, afraid, broken, tired, insecure. Like, they're people. Like, they're more than just what their role is. They're not just a pastor. Yeah. They're your friend. They're a father. They're somebody's son. Like, there's more to them that when you put them in that tiny box, and it can even be applied to God too. Like, when you put them in that one singular role, and they didn't do that one right. Everything's wrong with them. And now I don't know what to believe anymore.
Yeah. And I think that that's something that, like, just personally, like, I mean, I grew up, my dad my dad worked in the church. Like, I grew up a PK, and I feel like the one thing that my dad tried to really...
Oh, pastor's kid.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, pastor's kid. I probably shouldn't use a Christianese word. Yeah, a PK. Yeah, PK is a pastor's kid. Yeah, I'm sorry. But, like, I grew up in that, and, like, one of the things I feel like my dad really tried to impress upon me was that, like, he knew his imperfection. Didn't matter if anybody else knew. He knew. And he made it clear to me that he knew. It wasn't a matter of him being like, oh yeah, I know I'm broken. But he was very honest with himself. And I think that came through when I would see him. I can't tell you how many times I would watch that man walk up and down the hallway of our house. I can still hear it to this day. He would walk up down the hallway. Of course, he'd be like speaking in tongues, but he'd walk up down the hallway and he'd just graze his fingers across the outside of the wall of my bedroom, and I could hear it. Like I could just hear this like shh along the door. And I just remember like it was so soothing. Like I didn't think of it then that way. It was almost kind of annoying because I'm like, it's freaking Saturday and I'm trying to sleep. But like when I think back to it, like I just think about how like peaceful it felt to know that, like, especially as a father now, like to know my dad cared enough to pray for me. Mm-hmm. Like that he took the time to go out of his way to say like this house is a holy place. That the family that I have in this house is mine. And I think that sets such a precedent in my life. Like, I can't tell you how often I'm like, man, I'm so far off from who my dad was. Like, I don't pray enough. I don't read my Bible enough like he did. Like, I constantly, like, as much as like, I know that that's not healthy. Like, I know that that's not something that I should be doing. Like, I need to be, but it makes me want to do it more. It makes me, it almost forces my mind to be like, I want to be more like my dad, because I know how much of an impression it made on me. And I want to do that same thing for that little girl in the other room. Like, I want her to be able to say the same thing when she gets older. Like, my dad cared enough to pray for me all the time.
What an incredible example that he could set for you. I mean, yeah, it's something that we've gone over, and it's another book that you and I have read, The Resolution for Men, and the examples that our fathers set for us. And for many kids, like, this is the correlation that they make with God. Like, their first experience of like a father's love is us as their father. And that's what God's love should be. Like, we should be trying to emulate that as much as possible. Yeah. And showing that how much, like, that we care for them, how much more does God care for all of us?
Yeah, well, that's what the Bible says. If he cares for the birds of the trees, how much more does he care for you? Like, that's exactly what it says. And like, I guess the thing I think about, like, when I think about my dad, is I know how many people have like assumed that they know him or made assumptions about him, that because they think they know, who he is, or because they think that they saw one thing and that's, I mean, I remember hearing conversations of things that were said. I mean, I've experienced it in my own personal ministry, but like, people didn't see what I saw behind the scenes. And that goes both ways. Like, I'm not saying that my dad was perfect, because he would gladly admit to you he was far from that. But he consistently attempted, outside of everything else, to at least help me understand how important it was to wake up on Saturday morning, to wake up every morning. Because there was a period of time where I remember it was every morning I'd wake up at 6:00 and he'd be, only light that would be on would be in our dining room, because he's in there reading his Bible, or he's in there praying, or he's doing whatever he was. And people didn't see that. And they made so many assumptions about him, about me, based on what they thought they knew. And I mean, like, I know, like, if my dad's not going to heaven, I certainly am not going to heaven. There's a, like, that man showed me what faith truly looks like. And I don't know that he'll ever fully understand the amount of, like, him and I've had that conversation, but I try to tell him, like, you have no idea the amount of Jesus you impressed upon me when I was younger that has made such an impact on my life. And that's like, I mean, that takes me to kind of like what I was going to say next. I saw a podcast. It was the George Janko podcast, which is one of my favorite podcasts. If you want another good podcast to listen to, he has this conversation with Brandon Lake. If you don't know who Brandon Lake is, you haven't been a Christian for very long. So Brandon Lake's a very popular Christian artist right now. He's written songs like Gratitude, most recently Hard Fought Hallelujah, just to name a few. That's Who I Praise. If you haven't heard any of these songs, go listen to them as soon as you're done with this podcast, because they are so good.
Some of my favorites.
But just written so many. What'd you say?
Said some of my favorites.
Yeah, oh my gosh, dude. I mean, like, if name one song off of Elevation's last 3 albums, and he's probably written or been a part of the writing process in most of them. Like, guys just, I mean, so spiritually intelligent and such a good just such a good musician and writer in general. But anyway, he was on the podcast and he made this comment in reference to Steven Furtick, which Steven Furtick, if you don't know, is the pastor of Elevation Church, who is also over Elevation Worship, if you know who that is. And one of the things that he says in reference, he was talking about how like Steven Furtick is one of his closest friends, like he's known him for a long time. And the thing that he says is like, you don't even know that man. Like you have no idea. He said people make judgments about him all the time and you don't even know that man. And one of the things that he says in reference to it kind of toward the end is he says, who am I to cut down a tree that's still bearing fruit? And I just love that so much because here's the thing, like, I couldn't tell you what kind of fruit you're bearing on a consistent basis in your life. I might be, well, let me say it this way. Because I think that's maybe not the way to view it. We see the good things many times, or we at least should be looking for the good things. If we're doing the right Christian thing, we should be looking for the good things in the people around us. And I can see as your friend, the fruit that you bear and the kind of person that you are, the kind of father that you've been, even in just the first 4 months, the things that you've told me, the friendship that we've shared, the husband that you are to your wife. Like, I know there is good fruit there. I don't know everything, because it's none of my business. Let's say that first and foremost. It's none of my flipping business what somebody else is dealing with. But anyway, that's a whole nother topic. But I see that fruit. And so that goes back to what he said. Who am I to cut down a tree that's still bearing fruit? If I see fruit, then it's not my job to cast a judgment on it. If I don't see fruit, it's not my place to cast judgment on it.
Right. That's kind of what I was going to say. Like, even if you don't see it, like, exactly. Who are we to come up to somebody and do something or say something that wouldn't encourage that person to continue to bear fruit? Right. It's not the Christian viewpoint. Like, it's one thing that's always kind of frustrated me with some churches is just like the pure division within the church, and that could be a whole topic in and of itself. Like, the amount of churches you go into, and on Sunday morning they're so friendly to your face, but then you find out through, and then gossiping doesn't help at all either, but you find out through some of that stuff too, that they're talking trash about you behind their back and saying God knows what. But I mean, when you're doing those kind of things, like you're not, we'll use the tree example, not watering or fertilizing that tree to help it build fruit. You're pulling the fruit and throwing it away. You're cutting the tree down. You're preventing that from that person from hopefully reaching somebody else. Right. And being a light in their life. Like, yeah, it should always should be like a motivation of like, if somebody's stumbling on anything, like using the examples of like some of these like big name churches that had controversy and all this kind of allegations come through, that'd be the time to probably pull that person back away from whatever's going on, but support them, build them up, get them back to a good place. Right. And same thing with even like smaller churches. Like, if a pastor's not doing like what you think they should be doing or steering the church in the wrong way, like the church as a family should be able to come together as a family, like truthfully family, yes, build each other up and support each other. Like, because again, we're all just broken people. Yeah. But it's the old saying of broken people break people, or hurt people hurt people. Like, you get, I would no, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I would take that even further, like with the tree analogy. Like, when you see good fruit, when you see ripe fruit, it's whoever's tree it is, which isn't relevant to what I'm trying to say, but that person should be plucking that fruit. And then usually that fruit is then ingested. In my mind, the whole idea of that analogy, even in biblical respect, is that we should be seeing other people's fruits and longing for that fruit in our own life. You should be trying to find reason to, like you just said, it's exactly what you said, but just to take this a little further in the analogy, like you should be seeing that fruit and going, I want that. I want a piece of that because I see how good that is.
And if that's not something that you're continually trying to do in every person that you run into, doesn't matter if you run into them on social media or on YouTube or whatever you see, wherever you see it, whoever you see, your job is to try to find those good things and meet in the social media, the news media doesn't teach us that. They give us the worst possible things and tell us, oh, this is what's happening. And you're just left to be like, I mean, think about when you get, I mean, that's what I heard somebody say it a long time ago and I can't remember who it was. But I thought it was so good. So I'm going to steal their quote, not the quote, but I'm going to steal the thought. Cause I think it was a good thought. Like when you scroll social media, think about how many times you scroll through and you see something really happy, or you see something really sad, or you see something really angry or upsetting. Like you can be literally in a matter of milliseconds, you can have every emotion go through your mind and into your body just from scrolling through any social media, platform. And that's not healthy for your body. And so no. I think that we have to consider that in this kind of situation, like that is what social media is designed to do, whether you want to call it that or not. Like there's a certain amount of invoking emotion that's happening. And if you're not taking the opportunity to get in the word and to question those things that you see, I'm not saying by any means that everything that every pastor you're going to hear on social media, whether that be a Joel Osteen or a Steven Furtick or a Brian Houston or whoever, I'm not saying that everything that they're going to say is perfect, but I am saying that you need to recognize that they're broken and that there are good things and good fruit coming from those things, from those people and from those churches, whether you like it or not. And I think until people are willing to admit that, I think the church is going to be in a very long cycle of doing this song and dance over and over again.
Well, and think about how many times that you make a mistake, but you learn tremendously from it. I mean, it's the case for, like, there needs to be a little bit of grace in a lot of these situations. Like, we all stumble. I mean, it's said over and over again, we all fall short of the grace, or we all fall short of the glory of God.
Yeah.
And that is who God is to us. That is who Jesus is to us. Like, he is the grace in that situation. We fell short. Now what? He's not going to hold it against us. No. He's going to say, get back up. Try again.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And there needs to be a lot more grace in those situations. Like, so many people are so quick to find fault in other people, find that bad fruit, or say, hey, your tree's not producing as much fruit as it probably should. But in my opinion, it kind of helps that person distract themselves from their own issues or from what's going on in their life. Like, it's a pointing out the speck of dust in your brother's eye when you're ignoring the plank in your own. Like, how quick are people to say, don't pay attention to what my problems are, but look at that person's problem over there. Yeah. And they're a way more influential person than I am. That's a pastor of a church. I'm just a congregation member.
Yeah.
When they're the one that's gossiping the most and slandering the most people within the church, or God knows what else is going on behind closed doors, you know? Like, people don't want to be held under a microscope, like, when they, and it's, I guess, one of the toughest parts about being a Christian is, like, we've been talking about it a lot, like, being refined through fire. Like, they don't want to see those imperfections come up, because then they have that harsh reality of, like, I am a broken person, I am not perfect, I don't have it all together. And that's extremely hard to come to terms with. It's really hard to look at yourself and have those kind of realizations of, like, you know what? I'm not great.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Like, one of the things, again, I think I've thought about a lot, like, and I can't remember if I said this or if I told you this, but, like, I made a video of this whole clip, which I think we've talked about before, but obviously I'll say it for the listener. Like, there's this video of Steven Furtick that I saw rolling around on social media, and I saw it several times. Well, maybe I should say I saw this person had posted several times like this, and I've tried to just roll past it and be like, you know, just kind of like be like, whatever. And then I finally saw like 2 or 3, and I was like, okay, I think I'm kind of done with this. What's going on? And so I just kind of watched one, and it was this whole clip that was completely taken out of context. It was very pieced and you know, puzzled together, squeezed together to based. I mean, I went back and, like, found the original video. But anyway, it's this moment that it's like this conversation that Steven Furtick is talking about, where he's talking about how God sees us and how God views us. And let me just read the rough quote. And this is the part that was taken out of context. He didn't give the rest of what it said, but it said, "It's not how God sees me. It's how I think God sees me that determines where I end up." And actually, that wasn't the part that he says. He says that was the part that when I looked at the whole picture of it, that I was like, oh my gosh, like you can't misinterpret that based on this quote alone. But he didn't put that in there. He was essentially, Steven Furtick was saying, like, well, the part that was taken out of context is, he said, it's not how God sees me, it's how I think God sees me. Is that what I said? Yeah. It's how I think God sees me. And then that determines where I end up. And I was like, I guess I could see how, like, that could get taken out of context. Like, if you're not careful, like, that could totally be seen as like it's not about how we see ourselves, it's about how God sees us. And then I went back and watched the whole thing. And I was just like, oh my gosh, what did this, like, I was just appalled by it, because it was completely taken out of context. And this is what Steven Furtick says after that. He says, God needed someone to show the world what he looked like, or else he would have just been a concept, an abstract theory. He needed someone to show him his nature, to show his nature through. So he made me and you. And when you insult the product, you insult the manufacturer. And when he said that, again, this was not in that clip. This was completely taken out. I was like getting confused earlier, because I'm like, I remember how I was like, this is not anything that I've ever heard Steven Furtick say. And I've watched quite a few Steven Furtick messages, and even listened to quite a few. So it was just like, I was like, this is not the Steven Furtick I know. Something's up. And so that's when I went back and he said that, and I was like, that's so true. His point was, and what he was saying was, is if we can truly see ourselves the way that Jesus sees us, or the way that Christ sees us, the same Christ that took on the cross for us, that took on our sin and our shame, if we can see ourselves the way he saw us when he took on everything, if we can see him the way he sees us right now as his child, it's not how he sees us that matters. It's how we see ourselves. But the problem is that we can't see ourselves the right way. And so because we can't see ourselves the way that he sees us, all of a sudden we're now putting and I think this is what I truthfully felt like what was happening. The guy had his own convictions about how he saw himself, and he was pushing it off on Steven Furtick's words because he felt like he wasn't good enough. And that's what I feel like a lot of these conversational, like a lot of these little clips or things where people take pieces of somebody's sermon out of context, is they're feeling conviction in something that someone's saying, and rather than own it, they're piecing it together to make it look, whether it's intentional or not, because I honestly think a lot of it's unintentional. They're piecing it together to make it look a specific way, because they're hurting inside, because they're struggling with something much greater than what they see, because there's conviction in what they're saying, and because he has a better view of himself than you do, now it's his fault.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it kind of goes back to the, like, speck of dust in their eye versus the plank in my own eye. It's so much easier.
I didn't put those two together, but you're right. Yep.
So much easier to point out other people's flaws, because who actually wants to look at themselves and say, yeah, I'm messed up and I have things that I need to work on? It's so much easier to just be like, oh, I can help other people, or like even just like tear them down because they're broken people. But I mean, how easy is it to kind of use your, like, the video concept of, like, how easy is it nowadays to just twist people's words to fit your narrative, to make it look like they're saying terrible things or conveying a message in church, and say, like, look at what this church is preaching. Like, even if it's coming from, like, another church, not somebody that's trying to, like, tear down the church, but, like, somebody that just, like, looks at that one snippet. It's like, yep, they don't know what they're talking about, and they just don't have the full picture. I always think about a church I used to go to in college that was a Bible church, and they told us numerous times, like, we are a Bible church. We preach what the Bible says. If it's in the Bible, that's what we believe. And they spent so much time focusing on the Bible itself, of, like, what's going on during that time of whatever message it was, who is writing it, and who are they writing it to? And like everybody's favorite one to kind of pull out of context for themselves to say, my life's gonna be great because I believe in God is for I know the plans that I have for you, plans for you to prosper. And it's that passage wasn't written to us now. Like it wasn't for us. Like the Bible is written for us, but not to us. It's so easy to pull those things out of it and say, this is what's going to apply to my life. I'm going to prosper because of my belief in God. But he also tells us we're going to face a lot of challenges. Mm-hmm. So which one of those do you want to grasp on to? Or do you want to take it all and actually apply the vast majority of the Bible? Like take the whole Bible and apply it to your life, not just little pockets here and there that make it's like, oh yeah, this is the feel good verse. I'm going to take that one. Well, this is the feel good verse. Well, that one doesn't make me feel good about myself. Don't read that one.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're right. Like it's so easy to just take those things out of context because, I mean, and again, it's not that God was by any means saying that he doesn't, like, I do think that like God has plans for my life to prosper. Do I think that means everything's going to be perfect? Absolutely not. Because think about the people that he was saying it to. Mm-hmm. Think about who he was speaking to when he was saying that. And I think that that's the important part to remember is like, because here's the thing. And I think I don't know that we forget this. Like, I mean, I know I'm broken. I know I'm messed up, but I think sometimes we forget that like the people in the Bible were also that way. And I think I kind of said this earlier, like it's easy to forget that like Paul murdered Christians prior to being Paul. Like but when he was Saul, he was killing Christians. Peter was I mean, you can call it bad or worse. I don't think there's really any difference, but Peter was a sailor who probably cussed a lot because that's what sailors do. In his, of course, his own language. David was a thief, an adulterer, a murderer, you name it. David played Grand Theft Auto quite a few times. I mean, like this guy went around the wheelhouse when it comes to like. I mean, he went around the horn several times when it came to committing, like breaking several commandments. Probably all of them at least one point in time. And so, like, if you just want to look at it in context of like basic biblical law. Again, I said it earlier, God didn't use perfect people ever. Mm-hmm. Because the only one that was perfect was him. In fact, he even looked at the same guy who he said, again, I'm going back to Peter, but he looked at the same guy who said, this is the rock on which I'll build my church. And then he also looks at him several chapters later and says, you're going to deny me 3 times. Mm-hmm. So, no, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase. He says, get behind me. He at one point tells him to get behind me, Satan. Granted, I don't think he was specifically talking to Peter in that moment, but he says it to Peter based on what Peter was saying. And again, then he says, you're going to deny me 3 times. Like these are the kind of things that he's saying to the person who, I mean, in my mind was his closest friend and closest confidant. Peter was there to see just about everything. He didn't see all of it, but he saw most of it. You know, I mean, he was in that group of people. You know, it was Sons of Thunder and Peter, and I'm trying to think, was there one more? Or was that it? I think it was them 3. And was there one more? I can't remember.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was just them. I think it was just those 3. I'll have to go back and look later. I'm probably wrong. But I mean, they were the tight knit group. You know, they were the ones that Jesus had whenever he would go do something. He's like, all right, come on. You know, those were the 3. And they knew, like, okay, the rest are staying back. We're going. You know, I mean, they saw when he healed he healed that little girl. You know, he heals, what's his name? He heals his daughter. I can't think of his name now. Gosh dang. Anyway, but like, these were the people that he brought with him. These were the personal few, and they were the most probably broken of all of them. Again, the other 2 were the same ones that were like, hey, Jesus, when we get to heaven, can we sit on your left and right sides? I mean, how I love the way The Chosen depicts it, which again, if you haven't watched The Chosen, please go watch it. It's so good. But I love the way that The Chosen depicts it, because John comes up to him and he's like, like when we go to heaven, all the other ones are standing right behind him, listening to this. And John's like, when we get to heaven, can me and James, like, can we be on either side of you? Like, can we sit on your left and right side? And Jesus, he's like, what kind of question is that, John? What are you? I can't remember how he says it, but it's essentially like, what are you asking of me right now? And I think what he says after that was straight out of scripture, but it was very, like, again, it wasn't hateful, it wasn't rude, it wasn't condescending. It was this very much like, John, you don't have the right to ask me that. Like, you don't have the ability to ask me. I love you, but you don't have the right to ask me that. And I thought, again, Jonathan Rumi just does such a great job at depicting that. But like, I think that's exactly how Jesus probably responded to him, of just like, you don't, and I can't remember how he says it in the scripture. Again, I probably should go back and read it, but it's so well said. Like, and again, that goes back to, I'm getting off topic, but that's exactly in my mind, like, what we need to keep in mind is like, we are so broken and messed up, but God, just like they were so broken and messed up, but God. And the second we start putting people on a pedestal is the second that's not the case anymore. You can't put somebody who's just as broken and messed up as you are above yourself and say, well, if they don't act this certain way, then it's going to break my faith, or my faith is built on whatever they believe. And the second that they fall, then you're just kind of left to pick up the pieces. That's not healthy for you. That's not healthy for them. It's not healthy for anybody. Should they consider their leadership, and should they consider the platform that they have? Abso-freaking-lutely. At the same time, it's not your job to put them up there. It's not your job. Let me say it this way. It's not your job to pull them down. It's not your job to cast that judgment. God will pull them down if he feels it needs to happen.
But even to that point, like, if you are putting these people up on a pedestal, whether it's your pastor, your worship leader, Hillsong United, or whatever, like any of these big name celebrities, who are you actually putting your faith in?
Yeah.
Like, where's your hope? Where's your faith lying? If it's something as simple as like, well, now I don't have that pastor at this church anymore because of insert reason here, whether it's simple or not. If that's enough to disrupt your entire faith, where was your faith in the first place?
Yeah.
Like, it should definitely show you, like, where your faith is set. Like, if your faith is set heavily in God and solely in God, no matter what controversy rolls through, it's not going to be enough to shake you, because you've got a firm foundation in Christ. You've got God. It doesn't matter what happens. Like, you know who's in control of all situations. And putting your hope and your faith in a broken person is only going to break you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and again, like, it's a very small group of people in comparison to, like, the entirety of the rest of the world. But like, one of the things I wrote down was, have you ever experienced the weight of hundreds of thousands of eyes on you every single day? I can't personally say even that I have as a worship leader. Like, yes, I've had people watching me. Do I feel like that's healthy? Probably not. Well, maybe I shouldn't say, like, it's going to happen because you're in ministry, but I mean, like, people constantly, like, I felt that to a small extent, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like, I felt that weight to a small extent, and I know how
even just how heavy that little bit is. Like,
yeah.
By comparison, like, we have probably 60 to 100 congregation members at a time. Mm-hmm. Smaller church, but that was enough to freak me out last Sunday.
Yeah,
it's stressful to have that many people going, oh, look at that, he's talking.
And I think it's more about humility on both sides. Like, I think our pastors need to be humble, I need to be humble, and so do all of the congregations of all these churches. Like, I think if there's not humility on both sides, and again, it's the understanding that if I know my brokenness, I have to recognize everybody else's brokenness around me. I have to recognize that even the shepherd that watches over me is just merely a shepherd that is only following that is only doing his best to follow God as well. I mean, and I think there's a point where that becomes not the case. Like, you can't just walk around and commit sins and go, oh, God will forgive me. Like, I can't just sit in my brokenness and be like, yeah, whatever. Like, God will fix it. You know, I don't have to worry about it. I think there's a point where you have to say, like, this person is not qualified to be in that sort of leadership anymore, but I don't think it has anything to do with whether or not they have a bad Sunday on stage or whether or not they say something that you agree with. Like, that's totally off topic. I mean, the same thing goes for all of, like, I mean, like I said, I know who Mike Donaghy's specifically talking about in this book. If you do any amount of research, you'll figure out the band that he's talking about in here. But I remember when that happened and feeling those feelings that he was saying, which was part of the reason I even picked up this book in the first place, was because I knew he was going to be talking about that. But I remember feeling those feelings and thinking, and like, maybe not to the extent of, like, again, like having the blanket completely ripped off of you, but like feeling that of, like, if they don't believe that, and that's what they've been saying in their songs for all this time, then what does that say about my faith? Because I was thinking this is what they were talking about. That's not. And again, I don't think that that's a healthy thought process. I've said this before to you, and I've said it 1,000 times. If you look hard enough for the devil, you'll find the devil. If you look hard enough for God,
Devil's in the details,
you're gonna find God. Yeah, and I think it goes both ways. I mean, you can look hard enough and find God in the situation too. I love the old. This is probably a reference that would, well, you might get this reference. I don't know if you were a big fan. I mean, I grew up on him because of my dad, but Petra, the band Petra, one of their songs, it's the backwards masked part at the beginning of Judas Kiss. Go listen to it. It scared the crap out of me when I was a kid because I was like, what the heck is that thing and why is it saying it that way? But it's like this backwards masked little clip right before the song starts, right before that big like ba ba da da at the beginning of the song. And it says, if you take that clip and you play it backwards, it says, what are you looking for the devil for when you ought to be looking for the Lord? And the entire song is about Judas' struggle with Jesus. And I mean, the first line of the song is, I wonder how it makes you feel when the prodigal won't come home. Like, it's just talking about, like, the perspective of Judas, or it's from the perspective of somebody outside of the situation of Judas and Jesus, when Judas kisses him on the cheek. And the kind of final line to the chorus is, it must be just like Judas' kiss. And I like the connection between those two lines, like the beginning of that first verse to the end of that chorus. Like, I wonder how it makes you feel when the prodigal won't come home. It must be just like Judas' kiss. Like, that's the thought. Like, even just thinking about the prodigal son, like, what if he didn't come back? Like, the hate, the hurt. I think about my own daughter, the hurt that I would feel to know that, like, whether it was my fault or not, whether it was my decision or not, like, that in some form or fashion I caused that break. What an awful feeling as a parent. And I think that's like, I think that's the beauty of all of it put together. Like, if you want to continue to look for the devil in the details, like you said, which again is so true, like, you can continue to do that, but, like, I don't think that that's a healthy or long-term plan. Like, I think you've got to come to a place in your own mind where you say, like, I've got to stop trying to find, because that's the thing I hear a lot of Christians say is, I want to find every reason to point the devil out. I want to find every reason to call him out on his crap, and I'm not going to stop. And so that's why we point pastors out when they do stupid stuff. And I'm like, well, rather than doing that, why don't you like find Jesus and what he said? Why don't you find the good things? Why don't you glorify God rather than trying to put a spotlight on the devil? And I get both sides of it. I get wanting to make sure that the devil is seen because we know how bad he can be and how he can twist things. But I also think that there's a certain amount of God that can work through those situations, because that's what he does on a consistent basis in my life, at least. At least that's what I've seen. And so if I'm not willing to recognize that on a consistent basis, then what am I doing for other people? Excuse me. What am I doing for other people when I'm constantly trying to find the devil in everything? I mean, I'm certainly not showing them, okay, well, here's Jesus, you know?
Yeah, I mean, in that situation, like, are you being the light that people need. Like, if in that situation, like, if you're only pointing out bad things, like, well, like, you're only going to think that people are going to be being critical of you in those situations. And that kind of, like, pushes into that anxiety of, like, for those of us that stand up in front of the congregation, it's like, if I screw up this Sunday, what are people going to think of me?
Yeah.
And the things that I have to keep reminding myself, and it's things I've told other people that, like, their first time, I'm like, people are going to forget what you did at 11:30 when they go out the front doors.
Right.
People aren't going to remember that you screwed up. They might remember about it for, like, a little bit, and they'll go, that was kind of funny. But they're not going to hold on to that and be like, you remember that one time you screwed up so badly on Sunday morning? I remember that, and I think about it on a regular basis.
Yeah, right. And they might, and that's okay. You know, like, I mean, that's why I love, like, the pages on social media, like the worship fails pages, because I'm like, at least I didn't say that. What was it? Our pastor a couple weeks ago, he was talking about something. Oh, he was talking about the women. They're having a women's conference. Or not a women's conference, but like a women's, like, retreat thing that they're doing at the church. And you know, whatever men have testosterone. What do women have? What is it? I'm trying to remember. Estrogen. He said, that's what he said. He's like, I don't know. I couldn't remember the word, dude. I don't know what. Like, anyway, he's like, I don't know if it's all the estrogen in the room, and everybody just dies. And he's like, well, you know, he's like trying to get through what he said. He's like, but man, you can just really feel the spirit move in the room. And he's like, yep. If he's like, you have a list of things in your head you hope you never say from the stage, and that just made the top of the list.
That was one of them.
So, but I mean, again, like, I think that's a perfect example. Like, how often do we just, like, you know, again, I love those worship fails videos, because I'm just like, man, like, at least I never said that, and I sure hope I never do. But I know I'm probably gonna at some point in time. Like, I know how broken I am, I know how imperfect I am, but I also know just how much, like, Jesus loves me and he cares about me, and, like, no amount of me saying something stupid from stage is gonna change how he sees me. Again, it goes back to, like, when I think about my daughter, like, she says silly and crazy and weird stuff all the time, and none of that changes how much I love her. None of that changes who I think she is.
She's also, what, 4?
She is 4, but I think that's good. I think it's a perfect
They're
example.
supposed to say weird things.
Exactly, but how do you think God feels? He's a whole heck of a lot older than we are, you know. Like, I mean, we are 4 in his mind, you know. So, like, I think it's a perfect. Like, I love fatherhood in that respect, because I feel like it's such a perfect example of, like, it shows me just how much, because I'm able to see it through the eyes of being a father, how much he loves me and how much he cares about me and how much he wants a relationship with me, because I'm just a kid and he's my dad. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of a quote from an Austin French music video, but, like, it's a little moment in the beginning of the music video of Why God, where he talks about, like, he's talking about his kid and how his kid came up to him one day and he just started asking question after question after question after question. And he said, and I just sat there and I just longed for every single question. And he said, it made me recognize that God isn't afraid of my questioning. He's not afraid of the things that I come to him with. And I shouldn't be afraid to come to him with my questioning, because I'm a kid. I'm his kid and he's my dad. And I think that's the way we have to start seeing people is I don't even want to say, like, I feel like sibling is such a, like, dirty word, because I know how, like, yeah, like, we need to start seeing each other the way Mike Donaghy refers to it in the book, is he talks about seeing people, what is the word that he uses? He says seeing people in the image of God. When you're struggling with somebody, when you're in a situation, this is how he words it. When you're struggling with somebody, you're in a situation, they've said something that hurts your feelings, or they said something that hurts you. Sometimes it's hard not to be frustrated and angry. He said, and what I do in that situation is I just stop and I go, in my head, I just say, as I'm talking with them, say, image of God, image of God, image of God. He said, it's so quickly that I find myself not feeling sorry for them, but feeling like having a feeling of, like, understanding for the things that they're going through. And
empathy or sympathy?
Yeah.
One of those two, I always get them mixed up.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it was. He's like just having a sort of empathy or sympathy for them, because you recognize that they're just as broken as you are. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I've had to do that in my own life in certain situations. Like, that's something I use all the time. when I'm driving down the road and some stupid idiot cuts me off. Like, just stopping and going, image of God, image of God, image of God. Maybe there was a reason for why they did what they did. Maybe they've got to get to work really quickly because they don't want to miss out on the hours because they've got a 4-year-old daughter at home and they're late to work, or whatever the case may be. Maybe they got to get to the hospital quickly, or, somebody in their family's in trouble and they've got to get home, or whatever. Like, I think we need to start having that grace for people, even when we feel like we know all the options. We know what they're dealing with. We know we've been there,
Do you think God would be a bad driver?
I would sure hope not, because I feel like I feel like that would be super. I think that would certainly counteract a lot of my presuppositions about him. But maybe, I guess they didn't have cars back then, so was he seemed to drive a donkey pretty good, so I don't know. But anyway, sorry, bad joke. But yeah. Anyway, well, thanks for hanging out with us, guys. This has been great. We're definitely gonna have to dig into this more. This is a topic I think we'll come back to a lot. This is something that's heavy on my heart. I know it's something that's heavy on your heart, Schae. Like, this is just a really good topic to come back to, and I think I just hope that in the process of all of this, like, one, there have been several times, even just in this recording, where like I've said stuff and I'm like, wait, what was I even trying to say? Like, I recognize how broken I am. Schae and I have had enough conversations. I think he would say the same thing. Like, we're just a couple of broken people trying to navigate this weird thing we call life. And so, like, if that's something that you enjoy, if that's something that you want to like join us in doing, we would love to have you as a continual listener on this podcast. Like, we're really excited for what God's going to do in this and how He's going to use it. And so, I think that's our prayer in this is that this can be a safe place for anybody to come, to just stop and maybe recognize, like, God loves you. He didn't have to have you. He chose to have you. He chose to have a relationship with you. And so I'm just really looking forward to the opportunity to be able to do this. And again, I hope you'll join us in the journey. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on the Everything in Between podcast.